Usually anime have exaggerated character designs, over-the-top fight scenes, and mecha robots. However, anime is able to tell complex stories with a level of creativity that is not typically found in mainstream animation. Its influence on pop culture is undeniable, with a global fan base. But how did this genre reach this point? The historical timeline of Japanese animated films spans from 1945 to the present day. Therefore, decades in which drastic changes were made to the genre were focused on. Rick Altman's genre theory was used for the analysis of the films while exploring the historical development of animated films in Japan, specifically the impact of television on Japanese animated films. Japan's economic recovery began to regain traction by 1948 until 1955 from the devastation of World War II. Radio and film still continued in the role of cultural expression, although animations was not yet prevalent. In ambitious attempts to reestablish relations to numerous nations, Japanese animated films were exported to overseas markets. The two films we chose to represent the decades before the popularization of TV are Hakujaden and Horus, Prince of the Sun. Semantics of these two films are the elements of traditional folk tales. For example, Hakujaden is based off a Chinese folk tale and includes Chinese character designs, clothing, national animals, and Buddhist monks, while Horus has Norse myths, which includes a magical sword, fishing villages, stone creatures, and ice demons. There are also animal characters, which is reminiscent of Disney films. The syntactics of these two films are that they have linear narrative structure of classic storytelling format, a conventional element of good versus evil, and a concluding happy ending. There is also a heterogeneity between the male and female protagonist, shown through their roles in the narrative. Between 1948 to 1954, many previously banned foreign films were screened in Japanese cinemas, which had revived interest in animated films. Toei Animation, the studio that created these two films, wanted to follow the professional standard of Disney. Eventually, animation in Japan had become more competitive, especially with the arrival of television as a medium towards the end of the 60s.
The Tokyo Olympics in 1964 led to a major increase in television sales in Japan. By the 1970s, television completely overtook the film industry with the complete spread of color television widespread throughout many households. The introduction of animation from film to television was evident with Osamu Tezuka, as he had huge success with Astro Boy through television and commercial merchandising despite the low funds for production. The evolution of television in Japan, which illustrates the rise of technology, has led to the diversification of themes in Japanese animation films, such as science fiction, as seen in the films analyzed. The semantics of sci-fi action in anime films include the setting, particularly multi-universe and the modern world. Next, the visual elements are the technological advancements. For example, the Cosmo Cleaner D and the Wave Motion Engine in the space battleship Yamato film, as well as advanced vehicles and weapons in Akira. The stock characters are usually good and bad forces in conflict with one another. These films revolve around the conflicts between the protagonist and antagonist and how they resolve it, mainly through war. Technological advancements, such as weapons, are commonly used in the war scenes of these films. They will always result in a peaceful ending after the destruction of chaos. In Space Battleship Yamato, the Japanese division of the Earth Army Defense managed to restore the Earth from the destruction caused by the Gamilas. In Akira, it ended with an explosion of light as Tetsuo and the Espers disappear with it. Consequently, Tokyo became peaceful without the presence of threats. Through the evolution of television in Japan in the 1970s, the dissemination of Japanese animation films to Europe and America is facilitated. The themes of these films, which focus on technological innovation, also appeal to a wide range of audience outside of Japan. In conclusion, television has impacted Japanese animation in different ways. It established a wider audience globally, leading to various genres and themes that are able to cater to all ages and different cultures. This is also tied into the aesthetics of animation. For example, the introduction of other elements such as sci-fi and cyberpunk. Since 1958, the perception towards animation has changed drastically. The transformation to a cultural phenomenon all around the world is evident in the Japanese animated films we have today.
君の全然前世から僕は君を探し始めたよ。その不吉祥な笑い